Stage 1. The Newcomer. You arrive in a vehicle with blacked-out windows. Your wrists are chained to a belt around your midsection. The man beside you has been weeping since the highway. You have not. You made yourself a promise about that. Processing consumes the better part of a day. They strip away your clothing, your timepiece, your wedding band, the worn photograph of your daughter you've kept tucked behind your license for 3 years. In exchange, they issue you a number, not a name, a number. A uniform 2 sizes wrong, a bedroll carrying the ghost of someone else's body, and a rule book that bears little resemblance to how things actually function. An officer walks you to your assigned block through a corridor that feels endless. Faces watch you from cells, from door frames, from the concrete yard visible through thick paned glass. The watching is not hostile, it is analytical. These men are measuring you the way you'd measure a load-bearing wall, looking for cracks. What you do not yet understand is that a countdown began the moment your feet hit the floor of this place. You have somewhere between 1 day and 2 weeks to establish who you are. On the outside, you were a constructed person, decades of choices and relationships and earned reputation. That construction does not exist here. You are raw material, and this environment will shape you whether you consent to it or not. The first lesson arrives quickly. Everyone belongs to something. Certain organizations control certain blocks, certain yard schedules, certain work assignments. If you came in without affiliation, without a crew or a set or a people who will recognize you, you are exposed in a way that the word vulnerable doesn't quite capture. Neutrality sounds reasonable. Neutrality will get you destroyed. You eat alone your first meal. You feel the weight of every set of eyes in that cafeteria pressing against your back. Then a man sits across from you. He offers no name. He simply studies you for a moment and asks where you're from. That question is not conversation. It is the most consequential question you will face inside these walls. Everything that follows depends on your answer.
Stage 2. The Prospect. Someone decided you have value. The reason could be geography, where you grew up, what streets you came from. It could be the nature of your charges, because certain crimes carry weight here that the outside world would find difficult to comprehend, and certain crimes mark you as prey. Or someone vouched for you, someone already embedded in this place who crossed paths with your family, your neighborhood, your history. The world contracts dramatically inside these walls. Connections surface in ways that defy logic. You are not fully in. There has been no ceremony, no formal crossing of any threshold, but you are being observed. Assigned small tasks designed to reveal your character under pressure. They hand you something, a package you will not examine and will not ask about. You carry it from one block to another during shift change, when supervision is thinnest. You deliver it. You ask no questions. This is the right response. They need a message delivered to someone in protective custody. You locate a method. You don't elaborate on how. This is the right response. They place you at a specific location at a specific time and tell you to observe. Nothing appears to happen. You never learn whether it was a test or an operation or something in between. You don't inquire. This is the right response. You are acquiring fluency in a language that has no written form, not the spoken dialect of this place, though that too has its own internal logic. You are learning to read the unspoken. A man positioned in a doorway communicates something. eye contact held a half-second past comfortable means something specific. A guard who used to pause at your cell and no longer does is telling you something important. You are learning to feel the temperature of a space before you commit to entering it. You are learning that everything is signal, and misreading signal has consequences that cannot be undone. Stage 3. The Soldier. You have crossed through. Whatever the entry required, you endured it. Pains probably involved. That was intentional. You are a soldier now, bottom of the organizational structure, but you are no longer at the bottom of something more important, the order of survival. That distinction is the difference between sleeping and not sleeping, between eating in peace and not eating in peace. You are covered, imperfectly, conditionally, but covered. The men around you carry a meaning that the word brotherhood was not designed to hold. You would absorb punishment for them. Some of them already have, for you, in ways you may never fully trace. The soldier's function is simple to describe and punishing to perform. You execute. Orders arrive and you carry them out without negotiation, without revision, without the luxury of moral deliberation. The product that circulates through this facility, the tax collected from unprotected inmates, the calibrated violence that sustains the hierarchy. You are the mechanism through which all of it moves. You are not the architect. You are not the beneficiary, not in any meaningful financial sense. You absorb the exposure, while others absorb the return. This has been the economic arrangement of every criminal organization in recorded history. You are at the base of it. But what the arrangement provides cannot be priced. You enter a room and the atmosphere shifts, not because of you specifically, not yet, but because of what stands behind you, the network, the history, the implicit communication that your membership broadcasts. You have not been left alone in a space since the day you were brought in. To someone who has never experienced prolonged isolation, that might sound trivial. It is not trivial. You have watched what sustained loneliness does to men in this environment. You have seen its progression. You will not follow that path.
Stage 4. The Enforcer. You have a name now in the way that matters here. It was not constructed, it emerged from an event 6 months into your sentence, something people still reference without raising their voices. You do not reference it. Describing it would hollow it out. Leadership observed, they always observe. An enforcer is not simply a violent person. This facility contains no shortage of violent people. What an enforcer possesses that others do not is precision. Violence here functions as currency. Its value is entirely dependent on when it is spent and how much is spent and on whom. Indiscriminate violence is a liability. It invites federal scrutiny, administrative crackdowns, oversight committees developing sudden interest in what happens inside these walls. Violence applied deliberately to the correct recipient at the correct moment for a justifiable organizational reason, that is infrastructure. You are infrastructure. You recovered deaths. Not all of them are financial. Some men owe silence. Some owe changed behavior. Some have been communicating with correctional staff in volumes and tones that are inconsistent with continued membership in a functioning organization. You have conversations. Most conclude with the other party realigning with expectations. Some conversations reach a different conclusion. When they do, you are prepared. You are economical. You register less than you would have predicted. You have sat with that. You have considered what it reveals about you that you register less than predicted. You do not pursue the thought to its end. There is no useful destination at the end of it.
Stage 5. The Shot Caller.
Leadership elevated you because you possess something that fails to develop in most soldiers and most enforcers: judgment. Following orders is a replicable skill. Executing violence on instruction is nearly as common. What is genuinely rare is the capacity to survey a situation containing multiple competing factions, incomplete and possibly false information, and consequences that propagate in several directions simultaneously, and then make a decision that turns out to be correct. You have made those decisions. Your accuracy has been sufficient. You manage a section of this facility the way a district manager oversees a territory. Enforcers report to you, soldiers below them. You arbitrate internal disputes, which are constant, financial disagreements, grievances imported from the outside, perceived slights that have calcified into something more serious. You manage the boundaries with other organizations. These require the most careful handling. A negotiation that collapses can ignite open conflict across the yard, triggering lockdowns that freeze every economic system in the facility. Leadership above you does not respond well to that outcome. You administer the finances. A portion of everything moving through your territory finds its way to you, product primarily. The facility is saturated with it. Everyone is aware, including elements of the administration, because some portion of what enters does so with assistance from people drawing institutional paychecks. You know who those people are. You tend those relationships the way you'd tend something load-bearing. But the actual currency of your position is information. You know things that would destabilize people on both sides of the security line. That knowledge is the foundation of your real leverage. It is also what makes you dangerous to the people you know too much about. That tension does not resolve. You learn to carry it. Stage 6. The Connector. 4 years into a 12-year sentence. In that time, you have assembled something that almost no one inside manages to assemble: a network that crosses organizational lines. The racial and territorial fractures of prison politics are not ideological, they are structural, nearly geological. Most people treat them as permanent. You found the seams. You identified the locations where conviction bends under the pressure of profit. You discovered that leadership from organizations that publicly despise each other will occupy the same room if the economics are right and the person arranging the meeting has demonstrated reliability. You became that person. You are the connector. Everything passes through you. Product entering through mail processing, visitor contacts and staff with arrangements, money migrating between facilities through commissary structures and outside wire transfers, information traveling between organizations that cannot formally acknowledge they communicate. Your network spans multiple facilities across the state. Federal investigators have been attempting to chart it for 3 years. They have not succeeded. You are 41 years old. You have been inside since 29. The world outside continued its evolution without you in ways that resist full comprehension. Your daughter is 16. She comes twice a year. Across the visiting room table, she regards you with an expression you have not been able to name precisely. Not hatred, something that contains more history than hatred. You think about that expression in the quiet hours when the block goes still. Stage 7. The Underboss. The person above you disappeared. This is typically how advancement happens in this environment, not through orderly succession, but through sudden absence, a raid, a transfer, a killing, new charges, a cooperation agreement that ends with the person vanishing into federal witness housing. The man who ran this organization inside this facility for 7 years was gone within a week. The vacuum was immediate and volatile. Every faction, internal and external, was watching to see who moved into it and whether that person had the mass to hold it in place. You moved. You held. The 2 weeks that followed are not something you will describe to anyone, under any conditions, for any reason. At the end of them, you are the underboss. Above you exists a structure that lives primarily on the outside: coordination across multiple facilities, management of the street operations that supply money and product into the system. You communicate with that structure through channels that are deliberately obscured: coded correspondence, messages carried through legal visits by attorneys who may not fully understand what they are carrying. Telephone calls you know are recorded, navigated with precision because you understand exactly what the monitoring apparatus is designed to detect and how to carry meaning inside language that doesn't trigger it. You are operating a criminal enterprise from inside a correctional facility. That is not rhetorical. You exercise more practical control on certain blocks of certain neighborhoods in this city than anyone in those neighborhoods would believe possible.
Stage 8. The Boss. There is no announcement, no formal transfer of authority, no ceremony. The men around you simply adjust, and that adjustment is the title. You have been incarcerated for 8 years. You have developed the capacity to direct significant power from a cell measuring 6 by 8 feet. What you understand about institutional behavior, about the flow of information, about human motivation under extreme conditions, it is not taught in any program. It is produced only by years of operating in an environment where miscalculation is immediately and irreversibly punished. You manage dozens of men in direct contact. Lieutenants beneath you manage hundreds more. Your relationship with the administration is never articulated openly, but it shapes the daily functioning of this facility in ways both parties understand without discussion. Certain activities are tolerated, certain others are not. The lines are mutually comprehended. When someone violates them, you address it before institutional mechanisms engage, because the administration genuinely prefers that you address it first. The arrangement is functional for everyone involved. You have also become something you did not anticipate: an adjudicator. Men bring you disputes that have no organizational dimension at all. They come because you are known to listen before deciding, to weigh before acting, to produce resolutions that the parties can accept and observe. You sit in your cell and hear a man out about a poker debt 14 months old, and you ask your questions, and you weigh what you hear, and you deliver a judgment. That judgment does not have an appeals process. In quieter moments, you consider the architecture of this, what direction these particular capacities might have taken under different circumstances. You do not dwell on it. Dwelling does not produce anything actionable.
Stage 9. The Legend. 11 years. Your name circulates through facilities you have never set foot in, not because of any single defining moment, but because of what sustained, consistent, intelligent application of will looks like across more than a decade inside a system designed to erode both intelligence and will entirely. Men who have never been in the same room as you know your name. It has developed a life independent of you. You are aware of this, and it concerns you, because a legend is a target. It draws prosecutors looking to attach a name to an indictment. It draws men inside who have calculated that diminishing you is the most efficient path to elevation. It draws external organizations with their own strategic reasons to want you weakened.
You manage the legend deliberately, the way you manage everything else. You are also managing something the outside world does not discuss when it discusses prison, which is what time actually weighs. 11 years. You entered at 29. You are 40 now. Your body has retained things your mind sometimes attempts to set down. The violence you have been participant to, the men who moved through this world and are no longer in it, the decisions that were necessary, that you stand behind fully, that nonetheless arrive in the hours before 4 in the morning when the block reaches its deepest quiet. You sleep in segments. The remainder you use, thinking, planning, reading. You have consumed more text in 11 years of incarceration than most people encounter across an entire civilian life. Philosophy, economic theory, legal history. You have developed a sophisticated understanding of the law through direct study. You have filed procedural motions that practicing attorneys called unlikely. One produced a hearing that remains pending. Early release is a genuine possibility. You are not entirely certain what you would do with that.
Stage 10. The Ghost. 14 months ago, a door opened, and you walked through it into a morning with a smell you had forgotten existed. You stood on a sidewalk holding a bus voucher, $200, and a plastic bag containing everything you are, and you experienced something for which you still have not found accurate language. Not happiness, not relief, something more destabilizing than either. The world moved without you for 11 years. The devices people carry are unrecognizable. The cost of ordinary things is incomprehensible. The texture of civilian life, supermarkets, traffic patterns, the small frictionless social exchanges that people perform automatically, none of it comes naturally. You are not sure it ever will.
You are out. You are not free. Parole conditions map your life in ways that make simple navigation feel like a technical problem. Certain locations, certain associations, a matrix of restrictions attached to your release that the outside world would not consider compatible with the concept of freedom. Your record moves with you. Employment applications, housing inquiries, moments when a conversation reaches the background question and you watch the person's expression shift slightly. The organization is still operating. People reach out to you with courtesy and acknowledgement. They recognize what you built, what you sustained, what you absorbed. They make offers. You listen. You don't respond. You are attempting something that 11 years of running a criminal organization from inside a maximum security facility did not specifically prepare you for. You are attempting to be an ordinary person. Your daughter is 20. She's at university now. She doesn't come. Occasionally, she sends a message, and you compose your response carefully, conscious that every word is a small negotiation with someone who has accumulated substantial reasons to have closed this chapter and has chosen, for now, not to. That "for now" is the most important phrase in your life. You have a room in a transitional facility. You have a warehouse job. You move boxes and load pallets and return each night carrying a tiredness that is categorically different from anything you felt inside. It is uncontaminated. You are still determining what to make of that.
Somewhere in a courtroom right now, a judge is reading numbers aloud. A young man is seated at a table, trying to absorb quantities of time that have not yet acquired any texture or reality. They won't for a while. He will be processed, transported, assigned a number, walked through a corridor while men on both sides evaluate him with the particular attention of people deciding what something is worth. He does not yet understand the complete and self-sustaining world he is entering, its own markets, its own governance, its own legal code that operates in direct contradiction to the one that just sentenced him. He will learn. Everyone does. The only variables are the cost of the education and what remains of the student when it concludes. The cycle continues.